Look at the weather.
It's beautiful here.
Non-stop rain.
Oh, man, it is a blazer out there.
It's cold and it's shivery.
It is cold.
Really coming down here.
I really enjoy your weather reports.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, we're talking weather in a whole new way. From historical events to what's coming up, plus weather news, science, safety, fun facts, and more.
I like where this is going.
This is Weather Weekly. Weather Weekly with Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey.
Episode number 10. We hit double digits finally. Good to be with you here. Had a week off on vacation with the family, which I'll talk a little more about here in just a bit. And it's good to be with you here on Weather Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Bailey, Storm Track 8 meteorologist at Wish TV in Indianapolis. I'm talking about that vacation. Boy, weather was nice. We went down to Gulf Shores, Alabama for the week. First beach vacation for my kiddos, so that was fun. But, and I'll spend some time talking a little bit more about this, about the trip, but saw some significant damage when I was going through Alabama. If you remember, they had the tornadoes that went through the week before, so that would have been March 25th. We were there the week after. That was a Thursday. We drove down through that area on a Monday and saw some of the damage from some of the tornadoes. The survey is still coming out. 11 tornadoes total in Alabama from that high-risk day, included 4 EF3s, 3 EF2s, 3 EF1s, and 1 EF0. Unfortunately, there were 5 fatalities from that outbreak that happened down in Alabama. And if you remember, it was the second high risk in that state in basically less than 2 weeks' time. So just incredibly active weather down in the deep south. We'll spend some more time on that as we kind of go through the podcast a little bit. Not a whole lot happening here in central Indiana while I was gone. I was glad to see that I missed near record lows for the first few days of April, and some areas had snow. So that was fun. We're also running kind of dry here. This is April 6th that we're recording this. This will drop officially on April 7th. And we're at this point only at a trace of precipitation so far, down about a half an inch for the first week of April. In April, one of the wetter months we see, usually we average around 3.81 inches of rainfall. May is the big month. Next month, when we usually average around 5 inches of rainfall. We still get a considerable amount. It's fourth on the list in terms of the hierarchy in terms of rainfall here in the central Indiana area. It does look like we're going to start ramping the pattern up a little bit over the coming days, and we'll start to see a little bit more activity in terms of rain. And it looks like more severe weather on the way for parts of the country. It looks like it avoids central Indiana, but there are a few outlooks out already, marginal and slight risks for parts of the Central Plains and the western Midwest, and then again the deep south. Not a high risk at least, but there will be some rounds of maybe stronger thunderstorms down there. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's what we missed while we were away over the last week. My next guest, we'll be talking everything weather here around the Midwest. She is a good friend of mine and also a co-worker of mine as well. Another Storm Track 8 meteorologist, Tara Hastings, my next guest here on Weather Weekly. Welcome back to Weather Weekly. My guest has been a member of the Storm Track 8 weather team since December of 2018. She is from the Hoosier State, Hammond, Indiana, and went to Valparaiso University, a good friend of mine as well. Miss Tara Hastings. Hi.
Hey. Hey. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you on. I should also include.
Thank you.
I should also include that she is a mom to be. She's over halfway home, right?
Oh, yes. I am at 23 weeks right now. So
exciting. Baby fever has caught the Storm Track 8 team.
I know. I went into the news director's office and I said, I drank the water.
Yep.
And he's like, you did?
He knew exactly what you were talking about.
Yep. And he said, gosh, I kind of feel like the grandpa of the newsroom, everybody coming in and telling me they're pregnant. So.
That's funny. He should just have, what should happen is he should just have already pre-made gift baskets because he know that
should.
is coming in, you know? I mean,
Right.
we had Ashley Brown, our chief meteorologist, and now you, and we have another reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think last year we had like 3 people that were pregnant last year too. So it's just like
It was like one right after another.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
we consistently have somebody pregnant at Wish TV all the time. So
Yep.
anyway.
It's in the water. I'm telling you.
Well, that's more of Nina's podcast, so I'm going to go ahead and venture
Yes.
off. I'm going to steer a hard right and talk a little bit of weather. So you and I are about the same age. So you and I have been doing this about the same amount of time. And you grew up in northwestern Indiana, so kind of slightly different weather since you're a little bit closer to the lake. But kind of start me from the beginning of, what got you interested in weather and kind of your steps from there.
Sure. So I grew up in what we like to call the region nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Northwest Indiana. I grew up in Hammond. So we got Chicago television stations. I'll be honest, there wasn't like a big weather event that I said, oh my gosh, I want to be a meteorologist. I had already loved science and space and experiments, and I really fell in love with astronomy and planets and galaxies and all the pretty colors that were coming in from the views of the telescopes and everything. And I think it was in middle school. I got like one of those small box TVs that I put in my bedroom, and I had that waking me up in the morning. So I had a timer on it, and that was kind of my alarm. So every morning I would wake up to the news. So I was a news nerd, I guess you could say,
okay,
in middle school. And so I woke up every day, and that was my alarm clock. And so I found myself, and I am not a morning person, but I found myself waking up a smidge early every day in order to catch the morning news. And there was this meteorologist, her name is Roberta Gonzalez, and she did the weather for NBC5 in Chicago. And I just thought it was so cool. I loved her personality, loved the way she reported on the weather. And so I kind of fell in love with the broadcast aspect of weather. I already loved science and everything. And so I kind of fell in love with her presentation. Mm-hmm. And so I just, from then on out, I was glued, and then I started watching, the evening newscasts and all the other different meteorologists in the Chicagoland area. So from there on out, I decided, I want to do this. And at the time in Chicago, I think there was only maybe 2 women doing weather. So I thought, this is something that, I'm definitely interested in. There's the possibility, because there really weren't that many women at that particular time doing weather. So I thought, I think this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And so I had from probably like late middle school into high school, I wanted to be a meteorologist, and that's what I wanted to do.
So you knew pretty early on. No changes from then until you went to college?
No, it was straight up. I thought maybe I might want to be an astronomer because I loved space so much, but then you had a major in physics, which really scared me.
Oh yeah,
which I still had which I still took.
Which
physics
ironically,
in college.
yeah, ironically, you still had to take physics in college.
Right. But I did take an astronomy course at Valparaiso University, and we had an observatory, and I thought it was really cool. We get to look through this big telescope and map things out. It was a really neat lab to do. So I was still able to do that, but yeah, so I decided to go with the meteorology route, and I went to Valparaiso University, which I'm trying to remember. I think I toured Ball State, but I had my heart set on Valpo from the very beginning. And I'm not sure I applied to any other college. I think I only applied to Valpo.
Well, listen.
So thankfully, I got in.
Here's the thing. Valpo is a great school.
It is.
But, not everybody has the grades to get into a prestigious university like Ball State.
Exactly. Chirp, chirp.
From the guy who, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but so in the TCOM building at Ball State, there's a big plaque of David Letterman, the most famous Ball State.
Of course.
And do you know what that plaque says?
No, what does it say?
To all of the C students before and after me. And then it's signed David Letterman.
That's adorable.
And the best part about it, it's like gold plated. It's a beautiful plaque. It's got his bust on it and everything. And I'm sure Ball State's super proud of that. Then they're like, oh yeah, it's
oh yeah.
So you
that's
want
great.
But no,
that's
Valpo's great. I mean, Valpo's right up there with Ball State when I'm talking to kind of kids that are in high school around here on where to go, simply because those are really the only two schools where you've got a very good television program alongside with a meteorology program, because obviously being able to do stuff on the air is equally as important to learning all of the weather stuff if you're wanting to pursue being an on-camera meteorologist. So,
correct.
And you had those opportunities, correct?
Yeah, and of course, after I leave, we were in the late 90s, early 2000s. The weather center that we had was in the basement of Christ College, the Honors College, in this really small old building. And then several years after I leave, they build this brand new building, and the weather center has windows that you can look out of. And I'm like, good gravy, man, I missed it. And then they also have a radar, and they launch balloons. So they have soundings. Yeah, so I think, so yes, there's the television aspect of it too, where they moved the weather center into the building that houses the communications department. So you can, and they do broadcast. They've got a green screen and everything too. But the sciencey aspect of it as well. I have a lot of friends that are, one works at SPC, who went to Valpo. So it's that sciencey aspect too, where they're now launching soundings and balloons and seeing and watching the data coming in and looking at radar and things like that. So I think, the sciencey part, the meat and potatoes of, why we do what we do, is in that part too. So.
I love that. And because I think, kind of comparing, Ball State was kind of in the same boat, because I think so many people thought, or probably even went into weather leaning toward wanting to do the TV side of things, because that's all we knew, right? We didn't know,
right?
When, like you said, when you kind of started getting the bug, you didn't know anything about the weather service or anything like that. You knew about the meteorologist on television. That's what you knew about. But it's nice to see that it is venturing out to be more science-based, and there are different avenues that you can go, not just in TV. Because I'd say up to that point, at least in our state, the only kind of research-based university was probably Purdue when it came to meteorology. I know they just recently got their own radar dome on one of the dorms. I forget which one up there, but they didn't really focus too much on the TV side. They focused more on research side, especially when it pertained to agriculture stuff. So
and climate, yes,
very much so. Yeah, in fact, you have the climate center there for the state. So that's where a lot of that kind of data went through and stuff like that. And there's several people that went to Purdue that ended up going into more government work, weather service stuff, and that kind of stuff. So you spent time at Valpo. Before we kind of get to your first job, you did get the chance also to storm chase up there, right?
Oh yes,
good times.
That was really neat.
Yeah.
I think that the coolest part for me is, so you can read stuff in a book and see images and videos of tornadoes and this, that, and the other, and severe weather events. But when you go out into the field and actually see what was in your textbook and try and forecast and figure out where severe storms are going to be, that just makes it so much more real. And it's such a great learning experience. You know, I'm kind of a hands-on learner. So it was really neat. For 10 days, we went out and storm chased into the plains. And it wasn't a traditional storm chase where we were in the central plains. We actually made it up into Montana one time, one of our days, because that's where the severe weather was.
Sure.
We didn't end up seeing any tornadoes on that trip, but some really neat microbursts and the actual forecasting and learning that I learned so much from my professors and my other peers, because you had, seniors, juniors on that trip too. It was just what an amazing experience to get out there and do that trip.
I echo that. I was very fortunate enough to also have a similar trip offered at Ball State, and just exactly what you said. And that's what I tell everybody is you cannot replace, because like you said, when you read a book, we all read books in college, ad nauseum. But to see
Right.
what you were reading about and your professors are testing you about and stuff happen. And the plains, often is called Tornado Alley. But I think what's probably better about the plains and chasing is you can see forever out there. There's no limitations.
Oh, it's so flat.
Yeah, that's flat. There's no trees. There's no wooded areas. I mean, you can see for literally tens and 20 of miles off in the distance, with no limitation. So to see, cumulus clouds starting to tower up from the very beginning and saying, okay, this is our target spot. We're just going to kind of sit this out and wait. I mean, we'd pull up lawn chairs and we'd go to our spot
Right.
and wait for it to happen. No, you're right. And I tell kids that I'm like, I know it's expensive. I mean, it was the most expensive class that I took in the years that I was at Ball State, but it was worth literally every penny because I think that was
Absolutely.
and it was near the end of school for me. So it was kind of just like it basically kind of tied a nice bow on top of all the learning that I did with meteorology to be like, yes, this makes sense, so, and it was cool to see. I mean, my goodness, I think we knocked out like 12 states in 2 weeks, so it was good to see parts of the country that otherwise I probably wouldn't have at that point. So it was neat. All right. So you finished up at Valpo and you got your degree. You're a meteorologist now. So where are you headed?
Oh, boy. So my first job, I worked a little bit at a PBS station in Northwest Indiana, Gary, WYIN,
Okay.
Channel 56. So I did a little stint with that my senior year of college and into the summer. So I did a little bit of that. But,
Was that associated with the university?
Yes.
Okay.
I think for like a semester or two, it was associated with the university.
Okay.
Yes. They needed somebody they had a newscast and they needed some weather talent to come in. So there's like 3 of us that rotated in. And then when the summer hit, I did that. I was their person Monday through Friday through the summer. And then, so I get my first big television gig, I guess you'd say, is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which I had no idea that even existed.
Wait, this is Canada, right?
Right. I mean, oh yeah. So I get this job, and I remember packing up the U-Haul and driving up there, and everybody telling me, "Oh, you're going to get a lot of snow." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, we get lake effect snow here all the time in Northwest Indiana." I'm like, "I can handle it." Oh boy. So I get up there in December of 2001, and there is literally no snow on the ground, and I'm unpacking into my apartment. This is like sight unseen. This is really before, there were pictures of apartments on websites and stuff like
Right.
that. So it was completely sight unseen. Went there, unloading everything. There's no snow on the ground. I'm like, what are these people talking about? I'm like, okay, this will be fine. So that particular year, 2001 to 2002 winter season, we had more than 300 inches of snow on the ground.
Oh.
And I thought, you have got to be kidding me. It kept snowing and snowing and snowing and snowing in Marquette, Michigan. And I'm like, good gravy. This is a lot of snow. I mean, they would plow the sides of the road, the snow drifts, in order to make room for more snow. They had these huge blades on the snow plows. I'm calling my mom. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I got my car stuck so many times. I would spin out. I learned how to really quickly change a tire, because I would continue to get flat tires because I would spin them out so much. I will tell you, that was an amazing experience. And of course, I don't know if you've discussed this with other podcasts or whatever, but you work at your first television station, you don't make a lot of money.
Right.
I found out what I wanted and what I needed. And often the times, the need was more important than the want, obviously. And then I made great friends up there. In fact, I am still friends with, and we get together once a year with some of the people that I worked at that first television station with. And obviously the weather aspect, learning about lake effect snow, and the terrain is really interesting up there too, because in the northern part of the Upper Peninsula is very hilly and mountainous.
Okay.
And then the southern part of the Upper Peninsula, it's pretty flat. So you can get blinding snows, lake effect snows in the northern part of the Upper Peninsula, and then the southern part, it's like sunny and nice.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a very interesting forecasting challenge, and I think for a first job like that, I think it was really neat. And the summers were beautiful up there too. I like to call it, it's been said, one of my friends said, oh, there's two seasons in the Upper Peninsula, shovel and swat. So you shovel in the winter time, and then there's a bunch of, these huge flies that fly around all the time in the Upper Peninsula. And I'm like, holy cow. But gorgeous views, loved it up there. Spent 2.5 years up there, really enjoyed it, and learned a lot weather-wise, and also obviously about television too up there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first job, and I'm glad you mentioned this, because I haven't really talked much about first jobs in general, but yes, the money is laughable at a first job, for one.
It is.
I actually call it's an extension of college. Is basically what it is, because you're about as poor as you were when you were working a part-time job in college. But in that sense, though, you are just as broke as all of your coworkers, because you're about the same age.
Right.
And to that, we made our own fun. And I often say this, nothing is stronger in terms of, at least in my experience, the bond that I had with those coworkers at my first job than at any of the other jobs. Wish TV is my third stop. Lima, Ohio was my first one before I went to Peoria. And while I probably grew much more in my second job, I look back fondly more so at my first, because of the group of people that I was with. That, one of the guys was in my wedding. We still are in contact today, and my goodness, that was 13 years ago when I left there. So nothing beats the first job. I mean, it was. We laughed. The technology was not great. The equipment was often broken. The money was scarce. But,
and you worked long hours.
Yes. And you know what? To that, too, it's funny. I had a conversation, I think, the other day with one of our Wish TV photographers about this. And times have changed, as they often do. But back then, I at least in my situation, we didn't have a weekend newscast. I was the only meteorologist on staff. There was no morning show. It was just evenings, Monday through Friday. But we didn't. I mean, there's probably only 10 of us that worked in the entire news department, and so everybody had to chip in on like Friday night football or basketball games.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had never taken a news camera out to shoot. And they're like, "Here you go," and I'm like, all right. And they basically like, here's on, here's off, here's how to record. And basically I got a crash course very quickly on how to shoot and edit and write sports highlights for our sports team so they could have a Friday night show, after our newscast was over. I think working in a market like where you were at in Marquette or in Lima, Ohio, makes you appreciate what you have when you take that next step,
Oh, yes.
whether it's, a Green Bay or a Dayton or a Peoria or a Fort Wayne or wherever. It makes you really, really appreciate what you have when you go to that next market. And I make the joke, and we had our own issues in Peoria, which people that aren't familiar is about the same size as Fort Wayne. But my goodness, going from Lima, Ohio to Peoria, Illinois was like going to the Taj Mahal. It really was, it was.
Right.
Because we had equipment that worked. That was most of the time. It was more dependable. So, but yeah. But again, I say all these bad things about a first job, but I look probably more fondly on my first job than I do of the any other jobs that I've had. So, and a lot of that is just because of the people that I worked with. So.
Oh, absolutely.
So you finish up 2.5 years in Marquette. Then where are you headed?
Packerland, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Cheesehead.
Yes. Cheesehead, yes. That's where I really got interested in, I think, NFL football.
Oh, well,
I grew up in Bears country, I remember doing the Super Bowl shuffle as a kid. But, moving to, I didn't really pay attention to football all that much until I moved to Green Bay. And, this television station I worked at in Green Bay was literally a block from Lambeau Field. It was on Lombardi Avenue. That's cool. So, yeah, it was really neat. So when the games were going on and I was working, you could hear the roar of the crowd. And just, and I know that there are some people that are just cannot stand the Green Bay Packers. And
Right.
that's respectable. That's fine. But I think, for me, it was just really interesting to see how this small town comes around a football team.
Right.
They just bleed cheese, right?
Right.
Cheese heads. But so it was just really interesting. And so I fell in love with. I felt like I had to figure out what was going on, because if you weren't in the know. That was just every day, everything is Green Bay Packers, Green Bay Packers, Green Bay Packers. So I kind of fell back in love with football, and obviously Green Bay and Chicago in the NFC North. So I kind of got back into the football aspect of things. But yeah, I worked in Green Bay. I was there for 4 years.
Okay.
I had a good time there. Made a lot of really great friends, and went to some Packer games, obviously.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. Oh, and I should mention, so I was in Marquette, Michigan, right?
Okay.
And 2001 to 2002 winter season, more than 300 inches of snow broke a record. So I get down to Green Bay, that first winter season broke a snowfall record there too.
Nice. So you didn't really try to get far south very much to get out of the snow.
I didn't.
If you really didn't like it that much, the attempt was
no
kind of weak. Yeah. That's pretty chill. They call it the frozen tundra for a reason, Tara.
Well, exactly. It was really interesting. I had a good time there, too. I worked under a great guy, Patrick Powell. He was the chief meteorologist there. I think there I kind of really fine-tuned my forecasting skills a little bit. Mm-hmm. He came from a severe weather market beforehand, and I think he started maybe 6 months to a year before I got there. So it was really cool to work underneath him and to learn much more about severe weather forecasting and winter weather forecasting and seasonal forecasting. So I felt like I really sharpened my axe there as well. And, you mentioned a little bit about, cameras and things like that. I should also mention I did reports when I was in Marquette and also in Green Bay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't have to carry a camera in Green Bay, but I did in Marquette.
Okay.
But I did do stories, so I was kind of like a reporter. It was more along the lines of feature-y reporter or, some kind of weather aspect or something like that. But so that was another little hat that I wore at those two stations as well. So as
young meteorologists often have to do now, and I think that kind of started with our generation too. I don't think that used to be really a big thing. Maybe 20 plus years ago, weather people did weather. That was it. But it seems like, now they're, you're trying to utilize more. Well, and I think with technology changing a lot too, cameras are smaller. Editing is a lot easier once you learn it because it's all done on computer now. You're not having to get a reel out or a tape or anything like that, So
yes.
Now that, everybody can do it on the fly. I mean, you can literally, there's apps now. People can shoot on their phone and just edit it on their phone. It's crazy.
Right.
So I think that's just a sign of the times. So 4 years in Green Bay, and then you were off to
Ohio. So I spent 10 years in Ohio, a brief stint in Toledo.
Okay.
And then the remainder of the 10 years, the 8 years, I spent in Dayton, Ohio. And it was actually, at the time, our sister station. I should also mention, a lot of these television stations were owned by the same company.
Okay.
So I kind of stayed within the family, I guess, kind of, sort of. They kept changing names or whatever, but so at one time Wish TV and WDTN in Dayton, Ohio were sister stations.
Right.
So I worked there for about 8 years. Actually loved Dayton, Ohio. Many great friends from there. Did weekend weather and also some breakouts or fun stories, feature-y kind of things as well, a couple times during the week. Had a great time there. Really loved the people. That was really hard to leave. I'll tell you that. It really was. But when the position at Wish opened up, I knew a lot of meteorologists and kind of knew a lot of the people at Wish. And due to family reasons, too, I wanted to get back a little bit closer to home. So, but yeah, I had a really good time in Dayton and still go over there and visit some people.
Sure.
I got lifelong friends there. So.
Well, you're there a long time, 8 years. It's a long time to be in one spot in this business.
It is.
I mean, I think my longest stint is Peoria still, and that was 6 years. And I came out of that one with a wife and 2 kids. So that's how long I was there.
There you go.
So, but no, we love having you here too. I mean, you're great.
Well, thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. So you basically, you're kind of like me. You stuck around the Midwest. You went to way colder climates than I would have tolerated, for sure. So You mentioned, I guess, you've had some pretty significant winter weather events. You talked about, record-breaking snow in the UP, record-breaking snow in Green Bay. What are some significant severe weather events, or just significant weather events that stick out in your mind that's happened over your career?
So I think a winter one that really sticks out in my mind is I remember going live in Green Bay when we had a blizzard, and we were up I went live like on our morning show, which was from 4 to 9. And I remember it being so cold and so dark, and the snow was whipping, and we had moved locations. So we were out all morning long. We had moved locations, and the snow was just obnoxious, and so was the wind. My photographer moved me. We had to hurry up and get back on the air get ready for a live shot, and my photographer moved me, and I remember going live, and I could barely keep my eyes open because the snow, the wind was blowing the snow so hard that it felt like needles on my face. It was awful. So that's one winter weather live shot I remember. And then I remember, I was in Toledo for 2 years, and I remember there was a tornado that hit overnight. And the next morning, we were out, and I was out and about with a photographer, and we were walking around, and I just happened to talk to this guy, and I didn't know anything about him, and we were talking, and I'm like, how are you doing? Picking up the pieces, and he mentioned to me that he was on the phone with, I believe it was his daughter, and she turned the wrong way and went into the tornado, and she ended up dying. And for some reason, like, that just really hit me hard. And whenever we get interns coming in and people that are super excited about severe weather, I always tell them that story. And I say, hold on a minute.
Yep.
I said, let's not get excited about severe weather. I said, because this impacts real people. Real people die from this. Real people lose their homes from this. So this is nothing to get excited about. I think it's from a learning standpoint, trying to figure out what ingredients make storms strong here and not strong there.
Right.
And trying to pinpoint and forecast so you can warn people. But it's nothing to get excited about, like a damaging tornado going through a town, because this impacts real people. And my heart just sank when he's telling me that, and his tears are flowing from his cheeks.
Sure.
So that's something that I always remember. And so every time we get a severe weather risk, I think about that moment. And whenever we have tornado warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings, and we need to get that information out to the public, whether it be on TV or social media or whatever. So I try to relay that information in a calm, cool, and collective way, and then use the tone when I feel like it's really strong and I need you to get to your safe place right away.
Right.
I kind of use that a little bit more with more authority. But I think for me, that the excitement, I don't get it because of that particular reason. So
I understand that. And I was one of those interns that you mentioned. I geeked out over it. I don't know if I ever got to the point where I would be like just excited about it, but I'd be all in and just, wanting to just watch every aspect and just, geeking out over it. And I had a similar situation to you. And that was I have to go back now. I think it's 2013 now. Is November 17th outbreak in Illinois. They had an EF4 that just rolled over my wife's hometown of Washington. And she had a lot of friends that were displaced from their home. I mean, completely leveled neighborhoods. I'd never seen destruction like that in my life. And I'd watched severe weather coverage all the time online, because you can watch it online now. Every TV station streams their severe weather coverage.
right.
But the smells, the feeling when you're out there, and then just feeling the emotion changed in an instant how I feel about severe weather now. I won't say I can't stand it, but I'd say it's kind of redirected my purpose on, how to cover this. And it's kind of like what you said too, that, for dire situations, you need to have more of a impactful tone when it comes to stuff like that. It's interesting you bring that up too, because I was watching, I love James Spann. That's the chief meteorologist in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yes.
And so, 2 Thursdays ago, they had a high risk down in Alabama. So it was my day off, March 25th. It was a high risk. It was my day off. And so I just kind of sat on the couch and I turned the iPad on and had James on, and I was just going to watch him. For more than anything, I just enjoy how James covers severe weather. But I also, I like to learn. I think he's one of the best that does it. And I don't know if you saw this or not, but as he was on the air, his neighborhood was getting hit by a tornado.
Yes.
And he actually ended up sustaining damage at his house. It was still livable, and his wife was fine, sheltered in place and everything. But you could see how it impacted him on the air. And I thought, oh, my gosh, what would I do? What would you do if you were thrown, like if you were in that situation on air? Would you be able to continue, my goodness, you're a mom to be, I've got 3 kids and a wife at home. I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I could handle it that way like he did. He basically was texting his wife, said, "Shelter now." And she's like, "I'm there." And he had kind of a more sense of calm. And he just kind of went about his business. I don't know if I could do that.
There was a tornado warning. Was that last year? It was in the neighborhood.
Oh, yes,
the warned area was in the
remember
neighborhood.
It was. Yeah, it's just west of you. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I said, and to I think Ashley was in as well. So while she was talking, I quickly sent a text message, and I said, "Please get into the bathroom downstairs, or go across the street to the neighbor who has a basement."
Right.
I'm like, this is a little too close to call, right? And that also goes for when I'm watching. There was a severe thunderstorm, a tornadic storm in southern Indiana once, and I'm, trying to get in contact with my uncle because I knew it was right around his area. Like, this is not to be. I'm not joking. You've got to take cover here, or when it impacting family or really close friends, making sure that they heed those warnings. And one of my friends is like, "Okay, well, if you're telling me to do it, I'll do it." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean business here. This is nothing to joke around about. Like, we got to get there." Because this is, and I think too, like impacting those areas that you and I may know really well, right? Like, we're both in the Greenwood area. So, those specific areas that we drive around in our community, that's, and I live here. So this is important to me.
Sure.
I want to make sure that everybody is safe too. So.
It's interesting, and I learned a lot watching that coverage a couple weeks ago. And I didn't realize that the Weather Service was trying to push this initiative. But you reminded me of it, saying, you were trying to get a hold of your uncle, or, you texting your husband and stuff like that. But they're pushing, and I don't think all offices have really jumped on board in terms of the National Weather Service. But they're trying to push this initiative. It's called Be the Hero. Have you heard about this?
I have not heard about this.
Okay, so
I'm going to have to look this up.
What they say is, it says be the hero, because they want people to basically reach out and call somebody, because what's the goal of the Weather Service? They want to try to get the warning out to everybody. If you're in the polygon, you need to know about it. That's why they push weather radios so much. That's why you get phone alerts on your cell phones. That kind of stuff. And so what they're urging people to do is they want people to be the hero. If your grandma lives in the county over and they're under a polygon, a tornado warning polygon, they want you to call your grandma and say, Grandma, there's a tornado coming. Get to shelter. They're trying to educate, because I think, you've spent so much time trying to educate people and say, get a warning, know where you live. And I think there's been a lot of social science that's gone on that you can read about, that there's a lot of people that don't know exactly where you're at on a map. We cover a very large area in central Indiana, a very large area where almost every county looks the same. There's squares or rectangles, right? If I threw out, and I've lived here almost my entire life, and I'd like to think that I am somewhat of a map nerd. If you just show me a solo county with nothing around it, no cities, no markings, nothing, I don't know if I could name every county in our viewing area because they look so similar. I could name a few, but not all of them. And so, and like I said, I deal with maps on a daily basis. So just someone, the John Q. public that doesn't pay attention to maps, they may not know exactly where they're at. And I think now the push is people that are watching the television. If they're watching, Tara Hastings on Wish TV doing severe weather coverage, and she said that Hamilton County is under a tornado warning, that somebody that lives in Muncie that has a relative that lives in Hamilton County, they're hoping they jump on the phone and text him or call him and say, hey, there's a tornado coming to your house. You need to get into shelter. Right. So it's an interesting thing, but I think it makes sense that you're trying to get more people involved, and you're saying to the public, hey, you're just as responsible as Ashley Brown is or Tara Hastings is about getting the word out and the warning out to these people. If you are hearing that and you've got loved ones in that path, this is, it's a life and death situation.
Well, and I think too, it's also important to note that, I know the emphasis is a lot about tornadoes, but I mean, severe thunderstorm warnings and straight line winds and hail can do just as much damage, if not more sometimes, than a weak tornado, right? A couple weeks ago, I was doing severe weather. It was a 90 minutes, and one particular storm was just tracking around the North Metro area, and there was trees down, and a man ended up dying.
Yes. Yep.
And so, we can get severe weather from non-tornadic thunderstorms. So just because there's not a quote tornado warning, even if there's a severe thunderstorm warning, and there's sometimes where I'm looking at the radar and I'm like, oh my gosh, this does not look good. Like, it's not tornadic, but the winds are ridiculous. The hail is obnoxious, and you're like, oh my gosh, let's get on here, or and let's tell people, all right, we've got hail here, we've got straight line winds here. This is one of those situations that, it's a severe thunderstorm warning, but I still need you to get away from the windows, get into your safe space for the next 10, 15 minutes, let this storm pass. I think that's important too, to note that, obviously tornadoes can cause significant damage, but so can those severe thunderstorms that are non-tornadic.
It's interesting you bring that point before you go on. And I try to mention this to people, especially in like Facebook Lives, because that's a point I'd always try to drive home. Be like, look, guys, tornadoes do a lot of damage, sure, and they get a lot of the coverage. But never in any time in our history has tornadoes been the number one weather killer ever. There's more. I mean, they're dangerous, and I'm not trying to discount that. And there's a reason why we put so much emphasis on tornado coverage, because of the damage and destruction it can do. But there are so many other severe weather aspects that you need to be concerned with, because I think you're right. People get in the mentality of, well, it's not a tornado, then I don't care. And I think that's kind of where we're at in a society. And I hope that kind of changes a little bit, but it just kind of seems that's kind of the way we are right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good point too. And I can put a shameless plug in. I think it was back in February. I talked to a former intern of ours here. Her name's Kaylee Pluchel. She works in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and we specifically talked about the derecho that they went through last summer.
Yes.
And you think about that, the winds that they encountered there would be equivalent to a good EF2 or EF3 tornado. That's a pretty strong tornado. But it wasn't in one little area where a tornado may be confined to a neighborhood. This was over like a 70-mile stretch that you're talking about.
Right.
And it went on for hundreds of miles. Iowa, Illinois, parts of Indiana. And obviously that created just an immense amount of destruction. It's equivalent to a tornado, but it was on the ground a lot longer, and it was covering a wider range of area too. So you're right. I mean, it's we kind of put the emphasis on tornadoes, but there's so much more that we can cover. So this will kind of lead me to my question for you, since we kind of talked about the winter weather that you've covered and the severe weather that you've covered. What's your favorite type of weather to cover? And I mean, you can kind of go into season or whatever.
Gosh.
What's your favorite?
Oh, well, so first of all, I'll say I love all 4 seasons.
Right.
Like, I feel like I need to be in the Midwest because I like to encounter summer, fall, winter, and spring. So I like all 4. I'll tell you this. I liked forecasting winter storms, but I liked it in like Green Bay and Marquette because it's more like all snow.
Right.
Here and in Dayton, it's more like mixed precipitation, and you get that warmer air mixing in, and you're like pulling your hair out trying to figure out where this rain snow line is going to set up.
Well, it's the mountainous terrain of I-70, Tara. That's
it is. Yes, and that stretches into Dayton.
Right.
Yes. Right. But so that like really stresses me out because if you're off by 20, 30 miles, that can have a huge impact on snowfall totals.
Absolutely.
You may see no snow at all, and you see all rain.
Yep.
I mean, I remember a big bust in Dayton at that time where it was Super Bowl Sunday, and we were forecasting, oh my gosh, it looks like this big snowstorm. And it ended up being that the warm air moved way far north and we didn't get any snow. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my gosh, was that a big bust? But so anyways, I do like forecasting winter storms. But around this area, it's like really hard to try and get that. But I do like thunderstorms and trying to figure out the ingredients and where storms are going to pop.
Right.
And so I do like that aspect of it. And I do occasionally like a good winter storm if it's all snow, right? Because then you can find out,
right?
Okay, well, where's the heaviest band going to set up? Mm-hmm. So I do like forecasting like a really good, intense snowstorm. I guess not like a winter storm where you get freezing rain or sleet mixing in, but like a good, intense snowstorm. I think that's, to me, I really, really like forecasting that and seeing, and then afterwards seeing, okay, well, where did the heaviest band set up? And of course, thunder snow. I get super excited about thunder snow. Not as excited as Jim Cantore, from the Weather Channel, but I do. But I do get excited when we get a good snowstorm around the area.
We haven't had good thunder snow. Well, I guess there's been I think you left me a note that we had one overnight or one late night this past winter.
Yeah, we've had a couple popping up, and that's just when you get just intense snow. You get a lot of lift. It's just like a thunderstorm, and except it's snow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we had a pretty good snow system on, was it Valentine's Day or the day before Valentine's Day or something like that, mid-February. That was the first big one that we'd had in a long time.
Probably in a while, yeah.
Long time, yeah. It was.
Now, that was really interesting to forecast, too. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, those kinds of storms I like to forecast because there was really no chance of mixing in at all.
No.
I mean, we were going to get snow.
But I think it was like the problem with it because it had been so long and because there had been so many times where we'd, 2 weeks out, week and a half out, be like, oh, it's something to watch, whatever. But so many things change. And it'd been so long, we're like, there's no way we're going to get 10 plus inches. No way. No way. It just, the setup's never there for us. Not going to happen. And we got closer and closer, and I'm like, I still don't believe it. Then we got like a day out. I'm like, wow, this is like happening. We're going to get 10 inches of snow. We're going to get we're going to get thumped. And we did. It
really happened.
One of the worst drive home from work I've had in a long time was that night.
Yeah.
Because I was still filling in for Ashley. That was like a Monday night, I think. That was awful. I think it took me, usually it's a 20-minute drive to get home. I think it took me over an hour. It was bad. It was bad. But in the same sense, it was fun. As long as I'm not doing that, like I couldn't imagine having to forecast for 300 inches of snowfall. Like I was done after 12 inches. All right. That was it. Like after we got our, like, what, explain to me, what is 300 inches of snow like? Because I don't know if I can
actually. It's a lot of snow. I mean, it's, and I'll tell you too. There's a part of a roadway. It's called the Simi Stretch.
Okay.
And they actually will close it. Where is that? Near Munising, in the northern part of the Upper Peninsula, and they'll actually close the road when the lake effect snow gets so bad and the winds whip, where you get visibility that's like at zero.
Right.
I mean, they will close the road, and they'll close the Mackinac Bridge as well.
Sure.
I just, gosh, I don't know. It was just every day snow. Yep, 2 to 4 inches here, 3 to 6 inches there, and I mean, it was nonstop. I mean, I feel like it snowed every day. Did
you get to a point that you were like, "This is like I made a horrible mistake. This is never going to end. Like I'm never going to get out of snow ever."
Well, I had a garden apartment, and when they would plow the snow in the parking lot of the apartment building, I ended up you would open up the blinds, and all you would see is snow. I wouldn't be able to see anything because it was just all snow. Like, good gravy. I did think to myself, what in the world did I get myself into? But I ended up making it through that first year, and then I got to the summer. I'm like, oh, this place isn't so bad. It's nice. But I mean, yes, it was nonstop. And luckily, I didn't live very far from, my apartment was not very far from the television station. So a couple miles or whatever. So it wasn't like I was driving that far in, but yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Could not imagine.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We've talked for like an hour, so I appreciate you.
Has it been already?
It
Wow.
has. It has. Well, I'm glad that you're surprised by that. At least I'm keeping you entertained, and that's.
Well, yes, you do.
No, but thank you for spending time with us. Before I let you go, where can people find you on the socials?
Oh, on the socials, yes. So on Facebook, I am meteorologist Tara Hastings. And on Twitter and Instagram, meteorologist wouldn't fit. So I abbreviated it and put MET. So I'm under MET Tara Hastings on Twitter and the Insta.
We're working on trying to get her on TikTok too.
Good. Okay, maybe. I don't I need another social media. I need
we need to throw something else on there, right?
I know. I already have time where I'm on my phone all the time. I'm trying to not be on my phone all the time, but well, and I'm also experimenting a little bit with the Instagram Reels. I've made 3 of those.
Which is that's very much like TikTok.
Oh, it is like the TikTok.
Yeah, so
okay.
you could pick out music, you can do fun dances, you can, lip sync,
Okay.
and you could put fun, filters and
Okay.
all that fun stuff on there.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
I mean, James Spann is on the TikTok.
He is
so
on.
I'm like,
Dude, I saw him on TikTok and I hit follow immediately. I am here for James Spann on TikTok. I mean, if he's cool enough to do TikTok, everybody else should be. So
that is a true story. That is true story.
I don't know. He's the coolest. He's the coolest. So, all right, Tara, thank you very much. And don't forget, too, you can also catch Tara mostly on weekend nights, consistently, Saturday and Sunday nights on Wish TV as well. So, all right. Thank you, Tara. I appreciate it.
You bet.
My thanks to Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for joining me on episode number 10 of Weather Weekly. And my thanks to you as well for joining us on this episode of Weather Weekly, a weekly weather podcast. We hope to hear you and see you next week with a brand new Weather Weekly podcast. And of course, you can follow us anytime. If you have any suggestions for interviews or any other input into the show, reach out to us. My email is marcus.bailey@wishtv.com. You can also hit me up on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for Marcus Bailey Weather. We hope to hear you and see you again next week here on Weather Weekly. And of course, make sure to check out all the great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Discover more from Storm Track 8 Weather and Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Plus, be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.